Right, bear with me on this, please. Third time recording. This is Hatfield 2035, episode 2. I'm glad you managed to fix the television to watch them on, sighed Granny in a hoarse, throaty whisper. Bumper laughed. There was nothing wrong with the televisions in the first place. God only knows why so many of them were thrown away, he frowned. Nanny hugged Bumper and crossed her arms across her bosom. No, I don't suppose you remember 2010, do you? After all, it was 25 years ago. You were probably a child yourself at the time. What happened? Asked the mechanic. The old woman explained. In 2010, the analog television signals switched off, and televisions were replaced by flat-screen digital TV screens. Why? Asked Bumper. Then he raised her eyebrows. Before digital TV, we only had 5 television channels, and after the digital switchover was made, the people had 500 channels to watch. Are the programmes any good? Asked the mechanic. Only if you like hospital dramas, people complaining about their problems, police shows and charity telethons, explained the old lady in the tattered wedding dress. Bored the crap out of me for years, she giggled. Oh, and who could forget the talent shows, she sighed. God knows they ended up with a dancing dog as their superstar, she frowned, when they could have had Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. Who's Michael Jackson? Asked Bumper. It's a long story, replied Nanny. Yes, Nanny, you can watch a video with the rest of the Winklers tonight, interrupted Broken Tooth. After all, your husband has been pedalling the bicycle all night. He deserves a rest. Nanny clapped her hands together. Oh, goody! George will be so pleased. He's been looking forward to the film all night, she paused. I'm so sorry about Cor. I hope you find him safe. Razor walked over to Broken Tooth. I'll come with you, Toothy. You're going to need some protection while you're out there, and some weapons. You'll probably need a mechanic too, suggested Bumper, just in case you run into any locked doors. Two of the teenage sticks stepped forward from the crowd. Fingers shook Broken Tooth's hand. Do you mind if me and my mates tag along? He asked. I could do with a visit to one of the derelict department stores. And I really need some new clobber. Look at my jeans. He turned around to reveal a 4-inch split down the back seam of his dirty denim jeans. Bumper laughed. Well, that will save me some time later. He pointed to the boy's rosy arse cheeks, poking through the split. You've only been with us for a month, replied Broken Tooth. Are you ready for the challenge? He asked. Fingers held up both his hands. Why didn't they call me Fingers? Asked the slim, handsome 16-year-old. Broken Tooth shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. I was kicked out of Gracetown for pinching tins of food while I was working in a supermarket stacking fucking shelves. Don't know why I bothered, really. He sighed. It tasted like shit anyway. A ginger-haired youth stood beside Fingers. My mate's lying. He's really called Fingers because he gives great wanks. There's nothing like a bit of hand relief to give you a good night's sleep. He was 15 years old and had lived in the dump for 10 years. I'm glad you are coming, Tag, smiled Broken Tooth. Bring a spray paint with you and we can decorate their miserable town on our way. A tall, spiky-haired police-blonde man stood next to Tag. Gadget rested an arm on his friend's shoulder. He was holding a pile of old, broken mobile telephones. I found these in the box. They might come in useful if we get separated. I managed to wire them into the same network. I used to be a computer programmer before I was arrested for hacking into the World Wide Web for some decent pornography. 2 weeks before the whole bleeding internet was closed down by the government 20 years ago. He was 40 years old. Broken Tooth was a singing metal cigarette. A young woman with long, dirty, knotted blonde hair runs across the scrapyard, kicking up the dust and piles of wasted paper. Can't find him, she screamed. Broken Tooth held out his hands and the young, skinny woman ran into her old friend's arms. Who can't you find, Witch Hazel? He asked. My son, cried the young woman. Fingers vanished. Searched everywhere for him. In the cupboards, under the floorboards. She was very close to a nervous breakdown. In the rubbish tips, she paused. He was asleep in our bunk bed last night. When I woke up this morning, he was gone. Razor scratched his chin. It must have been the press gang who took Tinker and Call last night. Fingers folded his arms. How old is your son? Asked the young 16-year-old, looking at the skinny woman. He's only 7, sighed Witch Hazel. He's still a womble. I thought he might still be a boy, frowned Fingers. Ever since they drugged the water supply, most of the Gravetown women have lost interest in sex. So they need surrogate children. That's why they stole your kid. How did the bastards get past the watchman last night without anybody noticing? Asked the tearful woman. Razor put his right hand to his mouth and coughed. That was my fault, Hazel, he confessed. I take full responsibility. Weren't you supposed to be on guard? Asked the young scruffy blonde-haired woman, staring sternly into Razor's eyes. I was drunk on Wizard's stinging little wine again, he admitted. We were celebrating my win in the banger car rally. Congratulations, Witch Hazel breathed a heavy sigh. But what about my son? Broken Tooth rested her hand on his chin. Look, folks, we were all blind drunk last night. The press gang could have sneaked past us wearing wooden clogs and suits of armour for all we cared. Nobody is to blame for this. He paused for breath. Fact is, we have to go to Gravetown to rescue Tinker and Core. Fingers raised his right hand in the air. How the hell are we supposed to get into that godforsaken concentration camp? Surrounded by a 25 feet high wall of barbed wire fencing and heavily armed security guards at every entrance. Bumper was standing behind Broken Tooth. We'll go and find my tool belt. I'm sure I have a pair of wire cutters somewhere, laughed the Stig's chief mechanic, vanishing into the crowd of worried, smelly people, standing in a circle, surrounded by piles of broken VHS video recorders and analogue television. 2 young teenage boys, Ragbag and Tumbleweed, were squabbling with each other, both of them standing upon a nearby scrap pile, up to their ankles in thrown away VHS videotapes. I found it first, yelled Tumbleweed, his fists beating upon his youthful chest. He was 13 years old. Ragbag pulled out a rusty flick knife hidden inside his torn, tattered rags. He flicked a switch and the shiny silver blade shot out of the handle, glimmering in the moonlight, catching Razor's eyes. Broken Tooth's bodyguard ran over to the 2 boys and punched the knife out of Ragbag's hand in one single fluid movement. You both know the rules, lads. No weapons to be used inside the dump, apart from in the Thunderdome, frowned Razor. We've all seen Mad Max 1, 2 and 3 a dozen times, sighed Tumbleweed. Pew makes us watch them every other month on television as part of our film history lessons. The 6'5" watchman knelt down in front of the pile of video sets. Ragbag stamped his feet in the scrap pile. Don't do that, insisted Razor. You're going to give me a lecture now, aren't you? Smirked the boy. Razor picked up a plastic VHS video set from the junk pile. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? This, my friend, is history. The history of the 20th century. Well, a small part of it, anyway. Tumbleweed took the video set, snatched it out of the watchman's hand. He glanced at the label. Madness, take it or leave it. He huffed a heavy sigh. I don't remember the 20th century. Frowned Ragbag. I'm only 11 years old. The boy shrugged his shoulders. Broken Tooth's bodyguard raised his right forefinger into the air. That is precisely my point. How will you remember history if you destroy the past? Why is history so important, anyway? Asked Tumbleweed, a small, young, chubby teenager. Talk to Nanny, suggested Razor. And remember that her grandparents were Jewish. She teaches about the concentration camps in history lessons, replied Ragbag. Razor hands the locked flick knife back to the teenager, and Ragbag throws it over his shoulder. He scratches his head and taps the tall, muscular man on the neck. Hang on, he sighed. Broken Tooth carries a hammer. The boy licks his lips with his purple tongue. That's a weapon, ain't it? He asked. Or a tool, suggested Razor. Useful for hammering nails into thick skulls who don't believe a word they're told. The watchman sat down. If you want to fight each other, then do it in the Thunderdome. God knows that will give us the rest of us some entertainment. I've sat through the Mad Max movies so many times that I'm beginning to feel like one of the characters, laughed Broken Tooth's bodyguard. Tumbleweed stood up. I'm going to find a few sacks. We can take these videos to Pew, he suggested. It'll give us something else to watch on Friday night, agreed Ragbag. Pause.